Hey guys, welcome back to another frequently asked questions about Japan. I'm your host, Unrested in Japan, and let's get to question number one. If I buy a PC, a Mac, or an iPod in Japan, or some other electronic device, will the OS or menu be in English, or can I change it to English? Um, if you buy a Mac, definitely. Macs will always have the option to change things to English. The same with an iPod or anything made by Apple you can change to English. With PCs, no. You will have to go out and purchase the operating system in English or somehow attain the English version of the operating system. You will not be able to change it over. There's not an option to do that. Um, if you know a little bit about computers, you can go in and change the settings to put some things into English, but some things will permanently be stuck in Japanese. There's no way to change them over. Um, you can go in and, of course, rename a lot of the titles on icons, and that'll change it over to English, but a lot of your main functions will still be in Japanese. So there are some things that you will purchase that will never be able to change over. Sometimes digital cameras will only have the menu in Japanese, which is not too difficult to deal with. Along with some video games, if you want to buy them, they're only in Japanese, so you may have to struggle a bit if you're just starting to learn the language. Personally, I have this camera that I'm using right now in Japanese, and I think there might actually be a way to change it over to English. I've never even tried to look, but it's pretty simple to go ahead and learn how to use a camera without knowing the Japanese language. When I first got here, I could barely read Japanese, and I had no problems learning how to use this camera. So I don't think you will have too much of a struggle, but don't always expect that everything will be able to change over to English. A lot of times your menus and OSs will be stuck in Japanese, so be ready for that if you want to buy something here. Can I survive in Japan only teaching private lessons? Well, yes, you can survive on the money you would make, because you can actually make quite a bit of money teaching private lessons. On average, you can charge anywhere from 2,500 yen up to, I've heard, as much as 8,000 for very esoteric, maybe medical themed or science themed English language lessons. You can make quite a bit of money, like I said, and there's no middleman, which is the great thing. You're going to get all the money that you ask for a private lesson. Your hard part may be travel. Some people don't want to pay travel, some people will, so that's going to be something that you set up between you and your customer. One difficult thing is getting a visa if you're just going to teach private lessons. There is a way to sponsor yourself, and I've only known about maybe one or two people who have actually done it. It is a lot of paperwork. You need a lot of receipts, and immigration is not always so quick to grant this. So you need to really have everything backed up that you do if you're trying to make a living on private lessons in Japan. You want to research it first with your immigration, your ward bureau, and check it out with other locals who have made it doing that. I would get a lot of advice from people who have survived making their living through private lessons. Personally, I would never even tempt the idea myself. The amount of travel time would kill me. I don't think I'd want to keep traveling around to meet each person. And personally, I like to just have a regularly scheduled job that's 9 to 5. Don't really like to have to try and meet people at 9 o'clock on a Saturday night just to teach a lesson to get 2,500 yen. So it's something you really want to check out yourself and find if it'll fit your prerogative. If not, then there's always plenty of other jobs that you can get a visa for here in Japan. Here's another question I've been getting a lot recently. People read up on jobs that they can get as a waitress or a waiter or a bartender or a barback if they live in some place like Tokyo or Osaka. And I do have friends who work those kind of jobs. And I do actually know some people who make their full living working in bars. I don't know anybody who survives on being a waiter, though. The people I know who survive on just working at a bar actually own the bar. So they make the largest amount of money from anyone else who works there. There are no tips in bars here. You will not make any money through tips because there's no tipping in Japan. America is the only place in which tips exist for bars. You will only make 1,000 yen an hour. Maybe some bars are going to pay a little bit more. Obviously in Roppongi or Tokyo, where things cost more, you're going to make a little bit more money, 1,200. But that's about $10 an hour. I don't know if you've looked up prices around bigger cities, what how much things cost. I've done a FAQ on getting your first apartment. You want to make a little bit more than $2,000, that's American dollars, a month to try and survive. And you're not going to make that if you're only making $10 an hour. So, logically, I would say no, it's not possible. I have friends who work those jobs, but they have them as a second job or just as a fun hobby job. It is really fun. You meet a lot of people. You have a great time working at a bar. But realize bars here are open from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. That is a brutal shift. Make sure you can stay up through the night and drink through the night with the patrons that come in, because they will buy you drinks and expect you to drink with them. And for some people, that can take quite a toll on your body. For other people, they're very strong for alcohol and can make it through the night with no problem. Kudos to them. I cannot do such a thing. So it's up to you personally, but don't expect to make your living as a waiter or a waitress or a bartender or a barback in Japan. You would not make enough money on that job alone to survive. And you don't get a visa. The people who own those bars probably have a spouse visa or a business visa in Japan. Unless you own your own business, you cannot get a business visa, or if you're not married, you cannot get a spouse visa. And if you're just working as a bartender, a waiter, or a waitress, Japan is not going to grant you a visa for those jobs. They can easily fill those jobs themselves with Japanese people. They don't need gaijin to come over to their country to fill those jobs. Hope that helps with what you want to do when you come to Japan. If you have any more questions, send them on over and get ready for FAQ 27.